What's up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Offbeat Podcast. I'm your host, Jorge Ambriz, and I'm so excited, man. So excited for today's episode, man. We have a special guest here with us today, man, and I'm so grateful to have Jonathan Jimenez, a.k.a. Johnny Swole. What's up, my brother?
George, what's up, brother? Hey, I'm just as excited as you are to be here. It's an honor to be here, to share my life story, who I am as a person. And, it's one of those things I tell people, this is me as a person, right?
Yeah.
Everybody may know me as Johnny Swole,
Yeah.
this buff, bald, intimidating-looking guy, right? Because everywhere I go, I get people like stuttering or getting nervous talking to me, and I'm like, hey, man, I'm just human.
Yeah.
Like, don't be scared, man. Like, I don't bite, I don't eat, So thank you for having me, man. It's an honor, and I'm really excited to talk about, touch bases about my life or what I've been through, and to share with others, man, because, at the end of the day, we all need some kind of inspiration or, words of encouragement in particular, because, the way the world is nowadays, it's like you see more negative and more bad things going on. Yeah. It's like, why don't we just put people in the spotlight and, have them share their stories to inspire others or help others out, So I think what you're doing is great.
Thank you.
When I saw Anthony's podcast and, other people that you've been doing, I'm like, man, that's pretty cool. Like, maybe one day. And then you asked me and I was like, okay, the day has come.
Man. Yeah, when you told me, you're like, oh, man, let me know. I was like, honestly, man, because I had been seeing, I've been seeing you there at Self-Made. And honestly, man, like you said, man, I'd look at you and I'd be like, man, you know what? Because I've always had a fascination for bodybuilding myself, man. And because I understand and I see that it's a sport within itself and the level of work and discipline that it takes, man. So I was like, man, if I can get him to come on and share his story, that would be awesome. So when that opportunity happened, dude, I jumped. I'm like, and when you said I was like, heck yeah, let's do this, man. It's gonna be fun.
I always tell people, man, it's God's plan.
Yeah,
God's plan, and He puts people in your life for a reason. And I believe that today it's God's plan for us to meet and talk in a divine appointment to share my lifelong story of who I am as a person. Yeah. And what I've been through. So, yeah, man, I'm just super excited. This is what I live for, man, honestly. I've actually never been like a very shy guy, right? Like I love talking to people because I like learning about them.
Yeah.
Right? I'm learning a lot about you. I've learned a lot about my clients that come and train with me or seek my guidance and knowledge.
Yeah.
And so, it fascinates me, people's life story, people's bodies, disabilities or capabilities, right? So I feel like God has given me this gift as a person that can help others, not just physically, but emotionally, mentally, psychologically, spiritually too, I don't want to say that I'm a religious man because I'm not. I'm about a relationship with God.
That's right.
I tell people it's not about religion, it's about relationship with God, man. Like a lot of people think that, you have to be going to church all the time and ushering and all this stuff. Like, yeah, that's great if that's planted in your heart to do, right? But I think what's most importantly is that you have a relationship with God and that you honor Him and at the same time show the love from God within you to others.
Exactly.
Because a lot of
to the
people
world
are hurting.
around us.
A lot of people are hurting nowadays. A lot of people, because they don't know God or they don't have that relationship with Him, they don't feel like, they almost feel like the world's against them, right? And I like to make people feel like the world's not against you, the world's for you. Yeah. But what is it that you have in you that you can share to the world, right? Yeah. And then eventually if they get to know God, great, like they can figure out their gifts. They can figure out their love and passions for what they want to do. Yeah. But most importantly, I always tell people, really dig deep about what you're passionate about. What do you think you're good at, and it'll come easy. And then as you build that relationship with good old God, man, it's like, life makes sense. You know?
And I love that because I'm a big believer in that within the four walls, it's a place where we build community, where we build our relationship, where we worship, we do all that all that good stuff.
Absolutely.
But in all reality, the true reflection of God's love is going to be what we do outside of the four walls. So I love that mindset, that you have, that you say, man, you know what, my goal is to be able to express the love of God to other people, And so tell us a little bit about yourself, Johnny. Tell us a little bit about, yourself growing up. How was it?
So, 34, right? And a lot of people are like, oh, you're young. It's like, yeah, I'm young, but I've been through some stuff. I'm sure everybody has. But the thing is, going through stuff and getting through it, right? And still being a good person and still having love for others, even though people have done you bad or betrayed you or cheated on you, whatever the case may be, right? I just, I was born and raised in Los Angeles, California.
Okay. What part of LA?
I was, at first we were living in Vermont 108th, right?
Okay,
like
all right.
Projects.
Okay.
In the hood.
Yeah.
Vermont and 36, and then we upgraded to Vermont and Melrose.
All right.
A little bougie, you know what I mean?
Yeah, all right.
It took time, though. My mom and dad are, both immigrants, and they came to this country to give me an opportunity.
And your dad is from?
My dad is from Guatemala.
Guatemala?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah,
Central
America, And so, Salvador, we got Honduras, all our family are out there, right? And my mom's from Mexico, Michoacán.
Hey,
Querétaro.
Shout out to Michoacán.
And Querétaro. So, I've been to both countries, and what's crazy is, being born and raised in Los Angeles, California, it was a pride stamp. And the reason I say that is because growing up, watching TV, I had idols that I idolized. For one, you're going to know who that is. Schwarzenegger.
Yeah.
Right? Arnold, Jean-Claude Van Damme, Sylvester Stallone. We got Steven Seagal, Jackie Chan, Bruce Lee.
Yeah.
The list goes on, right? So Michael Jordan. So growing up, I saw Kobe Bryant. Of course, I got to throw the Mamba there.
Yeah, Black Mamba.
The Black Mamba, rest in peace, man.
Yeah.
That hit hard because
he
was a mentor of mine growing up, watching him, and I wanted to be like him. Everybody did. Everybody wanted to be like Mike. Everybody wanted to be like Kobe, right? And so...
And I think let me just pause. Did it hit you hard? It hit me. I think the reason why it hit me so much was because it was him and his daughter.
Yes. That's why it was like painful because, it made me think like, man, like he went out with his daughter. Like that's the worst feeling, And what really hit home was like, what do you do when the plane's going down? Brace yourself, hug her, kiss her, say, I love you. It's just that feeling right there. Just it's devastating to think those last seconds coming down from the helicopter.
That was my thought too, man. I was, I literally teared up, and and I've always been a fan, but that just because I'm, I think you too. I have a daughter, she's 10.
Oh, okay, mine is 12 now. So
so that
is that the only one, or you got more?
I have two boys, and then my girl.
Man,
10.
You're busy. I got one right now. Once upon a time, I had two, which is my stepkids. I was previously married for about 9 years or 8 years, all her life. But going back to, being raised in Los Angeles, California, man, I was born and raised in LA, man. Tupac,
Tupac,
to live and
West
die
Coast,
in LA, So it brought that swag in me. And, growing up watching all these movies and Arnold and, like you said, the muscles, right? It was fascinating for me too, because I was a skinny guy, like all my life. I had a hard time building muscle. And because I didn't have the proper diet, I didn't have the proper knowledge, right?
Yeah.
So I was just a kid in LA that loved sports, loved being active. And honestly, what kept me out of trouble in Los Angeles, California, back in, the 90s, 2000s was sports. Being athletic, man. I played every sport you could think about. Soccer, football, track and field. I was a lifeguard. I was baseball, basketball,
everything.
Everything.
Yeah.
What's crazy is as a kid, and I hope it doesn't come out cocky, I just knew that God put something in my heart that I was going to be someone in life. And I would express myself to certain friends like, hey, I'm going to be someone in life. People are like, yeah. They'll just brush it off, right? But deep down in my heart, I knew I was going to become something special. And everybody should feel that way because I'm a big believer that God embeds these gifts in your life, in your heart, in your mind, and you have to figure those out. And of course, my parents believed in God, but my mom at first, she started having me go to like Catholic church, right? And it was cool. But I didn't understand why I go to church.
I think like probably like 99% of Hispanics
are Catholics, right?
Yeah.
I'll tell you what though, man. The one thing that was kind of like, oh man, this is having to confess to a father was like, I'm only 8. How much of a sinner can I be besides stealing gum and being, mouthy to my mom?
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So I didn't understand the concept.
Yeah.
But
I was terrified of that. I don't think I ever did that because I was just like,
I did it twice. I just didn't like it. I was kind of like, man, I'd rather just pray to God and ask him for forgiveness, right? But anyways, so I did all that, First Communion, and, over time I just grew up and, started going to Christian churches and just come as you are. And it was kind of more like, okay, when my time is, when I'm ready to really live God's purpose, then I think I'll go for it, right?
Yeah.
But again, like going back to God planting that in my heart and mind to do something in the athletics, fitness. I'll share with you one story. So in 2020, I landed 2 fitness magazines, the Men Fitness. And basically it's like, if you land one of those magazines, you're doing something right.
Yeah, and that was the cover, right?
2 of them, yeah. So what's crazy is going back from that cover, I'll get back to that because there's a lot of that I could tap into, but I just got to stay in the course, right? Yeah. So back when I was like 12, about my daughter's age, I must have been like 6th, 7th grade. I was really fascinated with building my muscles. I just didn't know how. So I don't know if you remember back then, nowadays, they're called Rite Aids.
Yeah.
Back then they were called Thrifties.
Thrifties, yeah.
So any of you millennials don't know about Thrifties, man. It's all good. Like, once upon a time that was called Thrifty, not Rite Aid, right? Now
they it's funny they kept their ice cream, the brand.
Yes, it's Thrifty, right?
It's the best.
Well, it's original. So every time we go to Thrifty, my mother and I, or my father, that's the first thing. Like, Mom, can you buy me some ice cream? Yeah, they'll buy me a little cone. It was like 75 cents. Right?
Yeah.
Now it's probably like $1.50 or $2. So she bought me my ice cream. She did her shopping. I went straight to the magazine section, right? This is at 12. I had no idea what manifestation was whatsoever.
Yeah.
I just found out like 5 years ago, and I'm 34. So I was in the magazine section, looking at the Muscle and Fitness, Flex magazine, Iron magazine. I was just flipping through pages, looking at Arnold, be like, man, I want to be like that guy.
Yeah.
Right? And so I would read like the routines, and I'd be like, okay, what's a bicep curl? What's a bench press? I was fascinated as a kid, like any kid. And so, me and my buddies in our neighborhood, one of them had a bench press and a barbell curl. So we were just bench pressing our butts off and curling away, and curls for your girls, and just being boys, right?
Yeah.
So my mom, I think that day we went to go buy some Q-tips, some algodones, cotton, for her nails and stuff that she needed, right? And so she passes by the aisle. She's like, Johnny. I'm like, yeah, Mom. Oh, what's up? Yeah, vámonos. I'm like, Mom, I was really into this magazine. Can you buy it for me? He said, no, ya vámonos, no tengo nada para eso. You know how moms are, right?
Yeah.
So you understand. That's why you're laughing. Oh, man. I
Could never walk away to the store with something.
Right? And so I was like, Mom, ¿me compras the magazine? She's like, no tengo dinero. Que vámonos. I don't have enough money. Like, we came for one thing only.
Yeah.
It's like, watch. When I get older, I'm going to be in one of these magazines. Okay, hijo, sí, está bien. That's nice. But put it back. Let's go. So I'm 12, right? I'm like manifesting what I want to do or become.
Yeah.
And I believed it. I believed it at 12 years old that it was going to happen. Yeah. I had a feeling that in due time, as I got older, I was going to accomplish the goal, right? And so fast forward to 2020, right? I mean, I've been bodybuilding prior to that. Actually, I started bodybuilding in 2005.
2005, that's when you officially...
Yeah, competitively. I started, at Venice Beach, small competition. The competition was good, but it was like, it's gotten so much advanced now, right? But that was my first show ever. I had no coach for 10 years, and just kind of self-taught, right? I was a trainer, though. I started personal training at 2005, too.
Okay.
At 24 Hour Fitness. This was when we had moved out here in the IE.
You guys were already out.
Yeah,
in the
we
IE.
moved out here around 2005. And so, like I said, growing up in LA was great. I didn't want to move from LA. I wanted to live there and stay there, and just LA was home.
Live and die in LA.
Live and die in LA.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was like. So actually, I had to graduate high school in 2005. So I stayed with my cousin out there until I graduated because I did not want to come over here. I came out here, I was like, what the heck is San Bernardino? Right?
Yeah.
Desert and just everything's so secluded and separated, right?
Yeah.
I was used to rolling on the bus, taking the Metro Link everywhere, you know, the underground metro. And so, yeah, man, finally moved out here and started personal training at a 24-hour fitness here in Waterman. And, you know, those.
Yeah, I remember the one
remember
right
that
there
one?
on
East
the
Carolina?
Yeah, yeah.
Next to the Rock Church?
Uh-huh.
You know, it's crazy. I'll talk about that too. Man, I got so much to talk about. You sure an hour's enough? I'm just kidding. We can't board everybody, you know? Anyway, so yeah, man, like I said, I had manifested about being in a fitness magazine and believed it. I developed a passion through working out, fitness. And, you know, it's cool because I discovered my passion at a young age, which was athletics. Or I wanted to honestly be a professional football player. Or a basketball player, but little did I find out I wasn't tall enough to be a basketball player.
Bro, that story of my life, man. Right? That was like I grew up loving sports too, man. But I just kind of want to pause a little bit on what you said right now, and the way you express yourself. You said, man, I hope it doesn't sound cocky, but the thing is, man, that I love the way that you're expressing it, because the truth is, man, that I think more people, more kids, they need to hear that. They need to hear that, because you know what? I think that's what a lot of people who grow up in low income neighborhoods and low income housing in LA, like for example, you say you grew up in LA in the 90s, man. That was the epidemic of gangs. That was like,
what's crazy? I actually when Ronnie King got beat down by the cops,
riots,
I was on my way to the SWAT meet with my mom. And the SWAT meet roof was on fire. And I'm like, what is going on, right? Helicopters, cops, sirens, like everybody's going bananas.
Yeah.
This is in 94, right?
Somewhere around there. Yeah, 93, 94.
Yeah, and I was just like, man, like, is this the end of the world? Like, what's up?
Yeah.
You know, are we having like this military invasion? Russians are coming here? I had no idea, right?
Yeah.
So my mom was freaked out too, man. And, unfortunately we found out what had happened with the racism and all that stuff. And, I actually grew up through a lot of racism over there with each other, like Latinos, African Americans, Asians, whites. Yeah. It was LA, something about LA is so much diversity.
Yeah.
Even like elementary school, my middle school, my high school, there was so much diversity of cultures, that growing up around that time, there was a lot of gang, violence.
Yeah.
And so that's why I stayed in sports, because one time my father told me, be a leader, not a follower. He said,
that's what I tell my son.
Right?
Yeah.
And I tell that to my daughter too. I mentor my daughter so much. Like I basically, because my father is an amazing father. So is my mother. I love them to death.
Yeah.
They've showed me unconditional love. They brought me to this world. So for my aspect of my life, I want to make them proud.
Yeah.
That they raised me the right way, and to show others respect. Integrity is everything, right?
Yeah.
Not lying about things. But who doesn't lie as a kid, right? We all grow up thinking that, I want to do this, I want to do that. So my father taught me at a young age to be a leader, not a follower. And so I grasped that concept at such a young age. I was like, you're right, Dad. I see all these friends of mine joining gangs, getting killed, doing drugs.
Yeah.
I didn't do none of that. I stayed away from all drugs and drinking, and everybody else was stealing, and just my thing was like, you know what, that's not mine. Why am I going to steal it? But I did have friends that would steal, and I was hanging out with them. And then a couple of times I got in trouble, because I was hanging out with them.
Exactly. Right? Yeah, good company, bad company corrupts good character.
Correct.
And that's why, man, I love that you brought that up, because the thing is, man, that they need to know that. And I think a lot of people know that. A lot of people know that there is something that could be great within their life, but sometimes because of the bad company that they're in, what I mean? Like sometimes they allow that dream, that greatness that's inside of us, we allow it to die.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I share that with my daughter now, even though she's 12. I'm like, baby girl, I'll tell you something. In life, every decision you make has a consequence.
Yeah.
So just know before you do something, think about it. 100%. Don't just do it.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people react through emotions, through influence, right? Or through anger.
Yeah.
And so I get it. You know, we all go through anger, times where we're upset with somebody or somebody said something that rubs you the wrong way.
Yeah.
You just want to retaliate, right? And there's some people that just react to emotions.
Yeah.
Or, you know, just whatever they're going through.
Yeah.
So I tell my daughter, I'm like, you know, you need to think about what you do when you do it.
Yeah.
Because there's a consequence to everything you do in life.
Yeah.
And so whether it's good or bad, but always do good when nobody's watching.
Yeah.
You will be rewarded, you know? And so, you know, like I said, growing up in that era, man, like I had a lot of guys coming up to me wanting me to have me join their gangs.
Yeah.
Like, hey, fool, where you from? I'm like, I don't gangbang.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Oh, you look like a gangbang. I'm like, nah, I'm not, man. Like, all right, Mara Salvatrucha, homie. And I'm like, okay, man, like, cool, but
yeah,
I'm good, you know? Like, there was like Mara Salvatrucha there. There was La Mirada, 18th Street, Temple Street. The list goes on. Bloods, Cribs, right? So I stood away from all that. I would pray every day and be like, God, protect me.
Yeah.
Right? Even though, like, I knew God was real, but I didn't realize how real he was.
Yeah.
Right? As a kid, you're just kind of like, okay, there's a God that I can't see, but
Yeah.
okay, everybody's praying to him. He's good. But thankful to God, man. In 34 years of my life, I didn't do none of that stuff. I took in consideration what my father and my mother told me as a kid, and I just wanted to do right. I wanted to help others. I wanted to be a human that would act upon kindness, love, and everything that God stands for.
Yeah.
You know, and I felt like because I did that at a young age and I obeyed, God rewarded me.
Yeah.
Right? And the reward was the desires of my heart. He just flourished it.
Yeah.
He just allowed it to just boom. And I was like, okay, God, like this is a lot to contain, but little did I know I was inspiring, touch other people's lives. And that's when I realized, like, whoa, there's a purpose to why I'm alive.
Yeah.
I am here for a reason. We are here. Everybody's here for a reason.
Yeah.
Right? So what's crazy is it makes me think like, okay, till this day, you'll have people at 40, 50, 60 that don't realize why they're here for.
100%.
They're living through they're living through the motions.
Yeah.
They're living through what I call comfort. Comfort, ability, and fear kills dreams and people's ambition to who they want to become, right? So if I was afraid to become great in life, I would never be where I'm at now.
Yeah.
So because I was influenced by idols such as Arnold, Kobe, Michael, you know, to name a few, that if they did it, why can't I?
Yeah.
Why can't you? Why can't anybody?
Yeah.
Right? So my thing was I would compare myself to the greats and say, I want to be great one day, right? But without having to be that a-hole, right? Or
Yeah.
I don't know if we can say bad words, but I don't want to put too many of them out there. We keep it PG.
Yeah.
Right? So my daughter might listen to this, so I tell her about cussing. You know, sometimes a couple of words come out. I'm like, it's part of my piratism.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm human.
It's all good.
I grew up in the hood, so
Yeah. So it sounds like, man, you know, you growing up in LA, even though you had that badge of honor that, yo, I'm from LA.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it looks like your parents did a great job at breeding a good confidence within you, you know, a healthy confidence within you, because that's what that is. You know, people might say, oh, yeah, that sounds real cocky. But in all reality, you had parents that loved you enough to breed confidence in you. Right. And then you were able to run with that confidence and say, man, you know what? Okay, my parents, you know, they're teaching me this level of to have respect, to be a leader, not a follower. Yeah. And then you grasped onto, you know, the idols of that era, which Michael, Kobe, Black Mamba, all these great actors. I mean, the 90s was like, man, booming with so many great movies, and it was, I remember that era, and it was such an awesome era to live in, you know, but you grasped the positive of that. And what brought you to, like, once you graduated high school and you came to the IE and you started, you know, training, what really was that push to say, man, you know what, I'm going to do bodybuilding?
Yeah. Man, where do I start? So, besides the bodybuilding dream or aspiration, like I said, I played every sport you could think of.
Yeah.
The one sport that I really wanted to go professional was basketball.
Yeah.
And I'm 5'8", so
Yeah.
that dream wasn't crushed, but I realized it's almost like, let's be realistic.
Yeah.
If you're not 6 foot and above, like
Yeah.
you're gonna have a hard time. Even though Bugsley Mogues did it, and Errol Boykins and all
Right.
that. You know what's crazy? At 5'8", I was able to dunk. I was able to like slam the ball 360. Like people would flip out. Like, how is this Mexican jumping like Jordan or Kobe? What is wrong with this guy?
Yeah.
What are they feeding him? What is he doing? But the thing is, I have a mindset that if I believe about anything that I want to do, I can achieve it.
Yeah.
So whatever I thought I can do or whatever I couldn't do, if I want to do it, I'll do it.
Yeah.
So basketball, the dream kind of just faded as like senior year in high school. So football was actually my forte. I was a running back in high school, and we went state CIAF championship, even though we didn't win. Had scholarships, right? And I turned them down.
Why?
Because at the time I was in a 4-year relationship, my first love.
Okay.
Right? She wanted to get married after high school at 18, and I was so in love. This was my first girlfriend, right? Like I've had other girlfriends, but this was the one that I was like, all right, this is the one.
First love.
I want family,
that first
right?
love, man. Yeah.
So I was being young and dumb, and so 2 weeks prior to prom, she had moved out because she had moved in with me and my folks because I guess she was having trouble at home. So I said, hey, you can stay with me. And I told my mom, I said, hey, can she stay with us? She stayed with us, whatever, and she taught me a lot, man. She taught me character, but then once she left me for somebody else, it was like, but that was after I had dropped the scholarships or told the scouts that I was going to take a year off and start working. So after high school, I should have gone to college. I should have gone straight to, start playing football. So I dropped scholarships from like Texas Tech, Hurricane, like all these great schools that are loving me, right? Because I was pretty good. And so, she had left me. I was heartbroken. I was like, man, now what? Now what? Right? So I moved out this way, fresh start. We're out here in the Inland Empire trying to figure out what is what. Because everything's so far, and I'm just a city boy. Right? And so I started working with my father as an iron worker. Right off the bat. 17 years old, man. Out of high school, I had graduated, and I wasn't even 18 yet. So my dad was like, "Ándale, cabrón, a trabajar."
Yeah.
All right, here we go. We want to make some money, right?
Yeah.
So I got into the construction business. I was in Spanish. It's called barilleros.
Yeah.
Iron workers.
They're the ones that would prep everything for the cement, right?
Correct. We are the foundation of the building, bridges, and all that good stuff, right?
Yeah.
It is the definition of hard work.
Oh, yeah.
Man, the first week I wanted to quit so bad. It was worse than sports because this was 12 hours straight.
Yeah, it does something different to your body.
It
takes a different type of physical toll on you.
It does, because growing up, I was pretty strong, but I was like, I can handle this, no problem, right? 2 weeks into it, we were like working on Staples Center. And they ordered tons and tons and tons of rebar where we were tying and tying and tying. Yeah. So I started off as an apprentice. Started making some decent money, man. At 17 and a half, I was making a good $22 an hour, right?
And then that was what, like 2005, 6?
2006.
Man, that's good money.
Yeah, it's decent money with the overtime, right? We were working like 80 hours to 100 hours. My checks were coming in every week, like $900. After they taxed me, because technically my checks were like almost like $1,500. So I was like calculating. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna be making like at least 4 G's a month. I'll be able to go on my own. I had all these plans, right? Because I was heartbroken, so I wanted to make some money, and I let her do her, and she left me for some guy in the military, and it's just no hard feelings. Yeah, of course I was a little bitter towards her, but I didn't hate her for it. That's just never been in my heart. And so, yeah, man, I started working as an iron worker for like, I want to say 2 years. And then I started going to that 24-hour fitness here in San Bernardino, East Carolina. And so, I just admire the trainers. Like, man, these guys are changing people's lives. Yeah. That's where I need to be. Screw this iron work stuff, because it's not for me. Every time I go in there, I pray, like, God, get me out of here. Yeah. It's not me. Yeah. Like, I don't have a family. I don't need to be here. That's what I was thinking, right? It's like a family man's job. Yeah. I have great benefits. That's great, but I want to do something I want to do. Yeah. So then I talked to the manager, talked to a couple of trainers, and then they had like a little billboard personal trainers make $60,000 a year. I was like, damn, I'm making just as much, but or not even yet close because I hadn't worked there the whole year.
Yeah.
But I was calculating. I was probably gonna make as an iron work about 45-ish, right? And so I talked to one of the managers, and I'm like, hey man, like, what does it take to be a trainer? Like, oh, we could put you through University of 24 Hour Fitness. We'll get you certified. So go from there. So then I went through that process, and I went to their school, and got hired, man. Like it was just one of those things that it was bittersweet. I was like, okay, I'm out.
Yeah,
and I ain't working,
Yeah, and that's crazy because I want to kind of touch on that a little bit because I always talk about this with sometimes we'll talk about this with my wife, or I'll talk about this with other young men sometimes, and I feel that sometimes when we're young, I feel like that's the best time when we can make changes.
Sure.
Do you agree with that? Because the thing is that, like, I feel like a lot of times people, because of the money, because they're making good money,
right,
but they will give themselves, and I'm not saying that those jobs are bad. Those are great jobs. They're honorable jobs. But like you said, man, you had a desire within to say, man, there's got to be something different.
Sure.
And you said, you know what? You saw an opportunity. And yeah, maybe you were going to take a pay cut,
sure,
but you were willing because you knew it was going to follow something that you were actually passionate for.
Correct. 100%. And even when I got hired on, I was like, man, am I going to regret this? Am I going to, because I had steady money.
It's scary.
Yeah, it was scary.
It's
right?
scary.
It's like I was saying earlier about fear. Like,
yeah,
it either makes you or breaks you.
Yeah.
So it made me, because then I realized, okay, this is who I am. This is who I was meant to be.
Yeah.
A trainer, a physical, coach, right? A mentor. Mm-hmm. And so the first year of personal training, I loved it. It didn't feel like work. My days will go by quick.
Yeah.
I'm like, man, I was like, next.
Yeah.
And I was just excited to kick people's butts, right?
Yeah.
Or share with them my fitness journey.
Yeah.
Or, just make them feel good about themselves. That's something that I was like, as a kid, like I always encouraged everybody, because I was a team leader even in my football team. I was a captain. I did wrestling too, a little bit of boxing. And I'll tell you what, personal training and bodybuilding was like a hand in hand. It almost went together. And then the realizations of like growing up, my idols, I was like, oh man, like this is why I am who I am now. This is what I was destined to be,
Yeah.
So I knew in my heart as a kid that this was going to be my, long life journey, like my destiny, And so, yeah, man, it was cool. So I started personal training. I left the iron working fields, and, I met a buddy of mine, my best friend. His name is Greg Ferrer. He actually introduced me to bodybuilding because he was doing it. So we actually started both personal training together.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. At 24.
24.
Okay.
Because he was like, yeah, man, I'm getting ready for a show. And I'm like, damn, this guy's jacked. I was ripped, but he was jacked.
Yeah.
And his father was jacked too, so genetics played a great factor.
Yeah.
And his other buddy, his name was Dan Corder. They were both like getting ready for a show. And I was like fascinated. I'm like, man, I'm fast, I'm good, but I'm not jacked.
Yeah.
I'm like, I want to get jacked now, Like, let me pursue bodybuilding.
Yeah.
Like, let's see what these guys are all about. So I would train with them, and they were strong. They were like chest pressing 60 pounds. I was with my miserable 35s. I was like, man, I'm weak. So I put myself at a pedestal with them. Like, man, I need to get to where they're at. And so I went to their show. He did the teenage category in Venice Beach, killed it. Got first place, overall champ. He got this dope belt that said overall champion, Mr. Muscle Beach teenager category. And I was like, man, I want that. Even though I'm not a teen anymore, I just want that title.
Yeah.
Right? And then that's where my dream blossomed. That's where like bodybuilding just, I was like, okay. And then he ended up, we personal trained for like 5 years in that gym. He was very impatient, so he wanted to do something with his life. He felt like training wasn't enough.
Yeah.
So he went into the service. He went to the Marine Corps.
Okay.
He actually was the one who introduced me to go to church, the Rock Church.
Okay.
He's like, hey man, let's go to Friday night church, bro. Shift happens. I'm like, bro, let's go to the bar. Let's go have fun. Let's go hang out, like some chicks, whatever. He's like, nah, man, let's go to church. I was like, all right. So here I go, going to a Christian church, right? Growing up Catholic. So then, I hear the youth pastor be like, hey, raise your hand. And I just wasn't ready for that, man. I was like, nah, this was not my time. I still got to live my life. I still got to be a man, And so, nah, man, he went to Marine Corps and he did his thing. I was kind of a little sad because he was my road guy. He was my road dog. We would go everywhere. And it's crazy because he was like 19 years old, never drank, ever.
Wow.
I had never drank too till like after 18.
Yeah.
And that's because I was like, okay, let's try this. They gave me a big old fat Mickey, so I drank like 4 ounces. I was already drunk. So that was lame, right? So he was a good influence to be around because, like, you know, even though I was aspiring to do partying and drinking, a little curious, right?
Yeah.
Like, I want to have fun. He was the opposite. So when he was gone, I was like, okay, God, now what? So then, I don't know, God was just like talking to me. And I had got in a couple of car accidents where, you know, life-threatening. I got in a coma for like a couple of hours.
Oh, man.
Car accident. I wasn't wearing my seatbelt. Me and my dad and my dad's friend, our coworker, we were going to work in Fontana. This car just busted a U-turn. You know, Fontana, the old Route 66.
Yeah.
This car just U-turned.
Like, in front of you guys.
Yeah. And just, my dad, I think his sternum was cracked.
Oh.
My other friend, he suffered a concussion too because of the, you know, I didn't wear my seatbelt for whatever reason, and I could have flew out. It would have been all bad.
Yeah.
I bashed my shin, and, you know, I was out for a couple of hours, and I just in the hospital. I'm like, whoa, what happened? And then I didn't learn from that. I just kept, you know, like partying, and then one time I fell asleep on my way home and crashed into a car. And then I'm just like, okay, like, God, like, I get it. I'm going through these things. Like, what do you want from me?
Yeah.
Like, I was thinking in my head, like,
yeah.
Well, what is life about? Like partying? Like, I just need more. And so, you know, I started going to church by myself. And then I asked for a Bible. It's like, I need a Bible. And I started reading. I want to live right. I want to do my life right. So I started tapping into a Bible, and that's when I just, you know, asked God to come into my life, change me, and, you know, just mold me and help me become somebody. And boom, man, he took all the desires of everything that I wanted to do opposite from fun. And, you know, that's what, as in Christians, it's like born again, right?
Yeah.
So I felt like all the desires of lusting, drinking, just out the window.
Yeah.
And then I felt like I wanted a family.
Yeah.
Right. And then he gave me that. And I still kept in visions of bodybuilding. So I did my first bodybuilding competition before the family stuff. I did my first show, and that's how I met my ex-wife at the gym. She was an instructor.
Okay.
But I didn't meet her till after I got saved.
Yeah.
And there was a reason why, because I prayed for someone like her, and God gave me her, right? And so, you know, the first 5 years were amazing. You know, she went through my first competition. She put through all my competitions.
Yeah.
But let me tell you, man, bodybuilding is such a selfish sport.
Yeah. Let's touch on that a little bit because, you know, here you are, you know, you finally find something that say, man, you know what? Ironworking, it's great. It's great money, but it's not for me.
Correct.
You make that change. You build some great relationships in the process of finding physical training. And then from there, you know, it seems like you said, God was always trying to get your attention.
Sure.
You know, God was always trying to show you. And I know we touched a little bit about this on a previous episode with someone else that, you know, we're always trying to fine tune our own lives, you know, but God is always trying to get us back to him because at the end of the day, you know, we are created by him, you know, and sometimes we think we know what's going to fulfill us and it might fulfill us for that moment.
I agree.
But at the end of the day, he's the one that truly knows and understands, hey, in your case, hey, Johnny, hey, Jonathan, look, I get what you're trying to do, and I get you're figuring all these things out, but at the same time, I have this with you. This is what I want to show you. Yeah. And so you get into the bodybuilding realm. You meet your ex-wife at that time, and then let's talk about a little bit about that because, you know, it seems like everything is starting to fit into place. But then you mentioned that man, bodybuilding is such a selfish sport. You know, why? Talk about that. Why do you say that?
Well, before my wife and I got married, started dating, and, you know, she was all for it. She was like, oh, you know, I support you. This is what you want to do. Great. You know, I told her I wanted to become a professional and be a Miss Olympia one day. Yeah. Which is the best bodybuilder in the world. Yeah. Right. And so I felt like I had potential to be one or still become one.
Yeah. But that's like the Super Bowl of bodybuilding.
Literally. Yeah. Literally. So, you know, as I've gotten older, I'm like, God, is this my purpose? You know? And I started kind of questioning myself like 4 years ago because I wasn't getting to where I wanted to get. But I knew I was good at it. Because then off the first show, I didn't do very well. She was there. So it's kind of like, oh. So the second show, I killed it. And again, I'm self-coached. Got first place, got novice overall champion. This first time, you know, competing. Yeah. So then that's where I knew, okay, God, you gave me this vision to become a bodybuilder. I'm gonna roll with it.
Yeah.
But as my wife at the time, we got emotionally involved and we started going to church together and, you know, raising my 2 stepkids, because I took my 2 kids in as mine, right?
Yeah.
Including my daughter. So she had 2 kids and like 12-month-old, 1-year-old, and then a 5-year-old. And, you know, of course, like those are her kids. I can't, you know, I'm supposed to love them for her.
Yeah.
Because of her. I love her, right? And so I knew that I had prayed for someone like her. So God gave me the family that I wanted.
Yeah.
He granted it. But, you know, with the bodybuilding, why I say it's a little of a selfish sport is because it requires so much of your time.
Yeah.
Hours of being in the gym, posing, cardio, meal prepping, eating your meals on time, getting your rest, going to work, being a father, being a husband.
Yeah.
So as a married man and being in a relationship, your spouse, your girlfriend or boyfriend, whatever, should be understanding what you're doing, because this bodybuilding journey requires a lot.
Yeah.
A lot of discipline, a lot of commitment, a lot of dedication, a lot of structure, which I had all that.
Yeah.
But my thing was balancing all of that.
Yeah.
Being a father and a husband.
Yeah.
Right.
Because it's not so much that it's selfish that, you know what, I'm gonna be super self-centered, super selfish. It's because it requires so much of you.
A lot of things that you need to do in 24 hours.
Yeah.
So nowadays, for upcoming competitors, my advice is balance everything as best as you can, because if you just focus on the bodybuilding competition, your marriage is going to suffer, your kids are going to suffer, your job's going to suffer. So what I mean by that is, like, yes, you could be obsessed with becoming this best physique bodybuilder, but don't forget, you're still a father. You're still a husband. Yeah. You're still an employee. You're still a coach. You're still, you know, whoever you are, whoever wants to be that. So that's one thing that I had to learn growing up while I was, you know, married at the time, that I also needed to fill in those other gaps.
Yeah.
So there was times where I would forget those, where I wasn't as present as I should have been. And then later down the road, I realized why we were, you know, things were falling out in my marriage.
Yeah. Did things what started to happen? What did you start to notice? Like,
so, you know, I felt like my wife at the time started kind of getting some, how would I say it? She just noticed that I wasn't as involved, that she felt like she was doing everything, even though I was the primary breadwinner. So I kind of felt like, because I'm working so much and I'm doing the show, I kind of gave her the responsibility as a mom to do everything and wife, because she was a stay-home mom. Yeah. And she did, you know, a couple of classes here and there, because that's where we met, at the gym. Yeah. And so then I was like, had to come to my senses to also step it up as a father and a husband. But it was difficult, because I was, you know, training so many people. You know, I'd worked for 24 Hour Fitness, LA Fitness, I've Fitness 19. So I did like 5 years I've been personal training for about almost 18 years, right? And I've been bodybuilding for almost 16, 17-ish. Wow. But since then, right? And so the one thing I've realized that over time, you know, these 2 journeys require so much of you. Yeah. That no matter what kind of job you have, whether it's in the fitness industry or construction or, you know, corporate, whatever, it's like, the thing is, I have like a eating regimen. When I wake up, I'm eating my meals at 6 a.m., 9 a.m., 12 p.m., 3 p.m., 6 p.m., 9 p.m. 6 meals a day. Yeah. Now, it took me a long time to get here, right? Because I wasn't structured like that all my life. I had to program myself to eat like a robot. And that's one thing that I've noticed that this world doesn't do. They don't prioritize their food. They don't prioritize their nutrition. They don't prioritize their sleep. They don't prioritize their cardiovascular. They don't prioritize putting time to go to the gym just because, you know, you got to go to the gym. But what had happened was, again, you know, her and I just started having difficult times, especially because it was alcohol. A lot of alcohol was involved. That's how we were both coping with our, you know, missing links, right? Yeah. She actually got to a point where it was more of her, like she was drinking more. Yeah. And so, you know, unfortunately, alcohol and then not going to church together anymore and praying, that just, like, I don't know if the enemy or the marriage just completely just got bad, man. And then infidelity happened, and I was crushed because I never thought, that could happen to me. But, it's one of those things that even till now, honestly, I don't talk bad about her because still the mother of my child.
Right.
And I have love for her. I've forgiven her, but I haven't forgot. And I don't hold a grudge on her. We have a great relationship now.
Yeah.
We co-parent
you
very
guys
well.
Co-parent, good.
The first year after our separation was bad. It's just, I don't want to go into that.
Yeah. And I think that, and I think that that's everyone. I know.
Yeah.
I've talked about it in my story too. Where we co-parent, and I think the first year too, man, it's always ugly. It's always
ugly. What's crazy was when we were together, I never, cheated on her. None of that. I was so faithful to her because I loved her, and the love of God was in me. And fortunately, she did. And after we had settled, bought a home in the East Highland Ranch, everything was beautiful, man. Like, I actually went back to construction. I stopped personal training and bodybuilding.
Oh, okay.
After 10 years into my fitness personal training career, she told me, "You need another job. We need benefits." I was like, "Oof. All right, here I go. Back to construction," right? So 2017, 16, 15, 14. 2014, I stopped personal training. I said, all right, I'm going to be a father, I'm going to be a husband. I'm going to be an honorable man, and I'm going to honor God by just being a husband and a father.
And if this is what you have to do, this is what you got to do.
So I kind of gave up the bodybuilding dream for 3 years. Yeah. 3 years. And then after she did what she did and we lost the homes and she decided to go, another relationship, it was painful. It was very painful because I worked so hard to establish our family, blended family, and raise her kids as mine. I couldn't understand why she did what she did.
Yeah.
But then again, I had to forgive her for it.
Yeah.
And so I think for me, forgiving her and walking away with everything, because a lot of people don't realize, man, they see everything I've accomplished, but they don't realize what I've lost. And I lost my family.
Yeah.
And I mean, they're still alive. I'm not, I didn't lose them that way, but I had a family established, and obviously we only had my daughter together. And so the fact that she gave it up for somebody else, for what we built, that hurt. That hurt a lot because, my daughter was only 8. Mm-hmm. It was on her birthday, and, when I moved out, unfortunately, she worked things out with somebody else, and it's one of those things I was just like, man, how can you just do that after 8 years, right?
Yeah.
But to make a long story short, I moved out of my house that I was buying in the ranch, East Highland, and she took over. I left her the house, and I downsized the way I lived just to go back to the dream eventually. But I prioritized to be a better father. That was my main priority. And I told her when I walked away, I said, you're going to regret this. I'm going to be somebody in life. Again, going back to me knowing I was going to be someone in life.
Yeah.
I said, you're going to regret this because I'm going to be someone in life. I'm going to be a professional bodybuilder. I'm going to make it to Olympia. I'm going to be an actor. I just manifested things that God had in me that was just like, because I could have retaliated. Kill this guy with my bare hands, but I just let it be and forgave them and prayed for them. And fast forward to 2020, after 3 years of staying away from the stage, I went back 2017, and the gym was my therapy.
Yeah.
The iron, the competitions were my goals to accomplish things that I wanted to accomplish. So it was kind of like one of those things that God saw my pain and he allowed me to cope with it through the iron.
And then, and I want to just kind of go back on something that you said right now.
Yeah.
It's so true, man, and that's why I love this platform about telling our stories through it, because like you said, people see everything on the outside.
Sure.
People see the muscles, people see the bodybuilding, people see the competition, people see the success, people see the following, people see all that. But man, you went through some pain, bro.
Yeah, man. Even now, it's like God has, obviously healed me from all that and allowed me to forgive her. Or even people nowadays that betray me or leave me or they don't believe in me. It's one of those things. It's like, okay, I'll allow people to do what they need to do.
Yeah.
And if it's something terrible, then I just pray for forgiveness to them, for God to forgive them. Like here he said, Father, forgive them for they don't know what they do.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things that as a human, the hardest thing to do is forgive, right?
Yeah.
I've learned that that's powerful nowadays. that regardless of what people have done to you, you still have to forgive them because God is going to ask you to forgive them too.
Yeah.
So, of course, given the fact that I came back to bodybuilding in 2017, I just put my head down and I grinded my butt off. I'm going to make this a reality. I'm going to be a professional bodybuilder one way or another. Yeah.
Were you still going to the gym though, even prior to that?
Yeah.
So you never left you never left the gym. You just paused the bodybuilding competition phase.
I paused it at the time while I was trying to rearrange our family,
right?
Buying a home and so forth, and we accomplished that. That's what I was kind of like, man, like after all we worked hard for, you just throw it away, But it's all good, sometimes things like that need to happen to you because it just shapes you in a better person. Yeah, and that's how I looked at it. Even though she did what she did, and my thing was, I'm going to turn this devastation to a positive manifestation of what I want to do in my life. Yeah. And so given the fact that God has given me these gifts in my heart, planted all these visions, I'm like, I'm going to roll with this, right? Yeah. So, went back to personal training at like 2018. So
okay.
As I was back into the construction business, I was working for another company here in San Bernardino called Centec.
Okay. Yeah.
I was running the crane. I went from like apprentice to like a journeyman, and then the opportunity arose to become a tower crane operator. And I took it. I was like, man, I'm not afraid of heights. Although I had to climb 100 feet up every time I went to go inspect my crane.
Oh, dude.
But you know what's crazy? After my wife and I separated then, I was just like, I don't need this job. My supervisor would give me a hard time because I was on prep, and sometimes I was fatigued, because I was low carbs and dehydrated. He would just give me an ultimatum. He's like, hey, man, you need to step it up, work faster. I'm like, dude, I'm running a tower crane. Like, how fast can I run this sucker? Yeah. Like, I'm not as fast as you, but I just started this like a month ago. I said, I'm about safety. I don't want to hurt myself or hurt anybody else. Yeah. And that's our priority. It was safety, right? So, yeah, he's like, hey, man, who pays your bills, Centec or Mr. Olympia? And this is before I became pro. So
he was one of those guys.
One of those, man. And, we got along because we came from the same company, Fontana Steel. But he was just one of those guys that were just his way or the highway. Yeah. So I was always on his good side. But then one time he pissed me off, and he said the wrong thing, and I just threw the control at him. I was like, you know what? I don't need this job, bro. I said, you can have this freaking control and run it yourself. Yeah. If you think you know how to run this, then run it.
Run it.
I'm out. So I left and came back because one of my managers from safety is like, Rambo, because they used to call me John Rambo. I always wear like, camo pants. And just didn't want to wear jeans. It was too hot. So then in 2017, I started competing again. So given the fact that I've been competing since 2005, I didn't really give it up completely, but I stopped here and there. It'll be like 2 years that I go straight, stop for one. But I would still train like a bodybuilder. Yeah. And eventually, I was just like, no matter what I'm doing, I'm still going to go to the gym. No matter how tired I am, no matter how many hours, I'm going to make it happen. So while I was working in construction, I had won 2 titles, Mr. Los Angeles and Mr. Orange County. And,
while working construction.
While working construction, man. And, sleeping 4 hours, being a husband, being a father, like, it was just like, no excuse. If there's a reason, if you want to do something, you're going to get it done no matter what. Yeah. And the good thing is that I didn't really get heavily involved with the drinking because a lot of my coworkers would drink. Every once in a while, in the off season, I would drink with them, but I was like, that's not me. That's not what I do. Cold Coors Light sounds good, but I'm good. Like, I want to be a champ,
And that's kind of what it takes a lot, right? Yeah. I mean, it does take a lot of denying of yourself.
Correct.
When you're in that field, right?
Oh, yeah. Well, the thing is your influence, people you're around with, eventually you want to surround yourself with because they influence you. Like, people are going to go drinking, guess what? More than likely you might end up going drinking. People are going to go to gym, guess what? You might end up going to gym. And so, yeah, man, went back to it in 2017 and fast forward to 2020, I knew that that's what I wanted to do, to be a professional bodybuilder. So in a pandemic, man, I had to set up I had done already national shows. The national shows is basically to get you to the next level, to go to the IFBB Pro League. Okay. So there's the NPC Amateur League, the Pro Leagues, and then the Olympia, the top of the top. So there's levels to this. Yeah. It's not just you compete, you win, and you're a pro. No. You have to win first place Then you qualify to go to nationals. And then in nationals, you need to win first place. And then you go to the pro leagues. And then when you go to the pro leagues, guess what? You need to win first place again to qualify to Olympia. So it's like a mountain you have to climb up.
So, but to get your pro card, what's required of that?
You need to win first place in an amateur show.
Okay.
And then win first place in a national show. Okay. A national show, you're going to get against everybody that's won first place. Yeah. So the best of the best in the nation. The best
of the best.
So, yeah, man, I mean, I went through 6 national shows in 3 years, 2018, 19, and 20.
So that's about 2 shows a year?
No, I was averaging like 4 to 6.
4 to 6 shows a year?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So I was traveling to New Jersey, New York, Pittsburgh, Las Vegas.
And this was all from your money?
Yeah.
So you were financing your own?
Everything. Yeah, I always believed that there's no handouts. Nobody's going to give you anything. I had sponsors that would pay for my supplements and gave me like $150, but I was grateful for it. Don't get me wrong. Still my sponsors now, Global Formula, shout out. Love y'all. Jacob. And so, but they compensated you, right?
Yeah.
But I had to pay for my flight. I had to pay for my hotels. I was broke, man. I was so broke that I was on my negatives sometimes, and I was just like, man, I need to make it now so I can start making money, right? But given the fact that I was in construction, I was making decent money, and then finally gave up the construction job, and I asked for a salary job at Anytime Fitness. I talked to one of the owners. I'm like, look, man, I'm so good at this. I could bring this much. Is there any way you give me a salary? Because he knew me. He would see my stories. He'd see me like, man, he's always, dude, that's awesome that you're doing crane stuff and you're bodybuilding. Like, it's inspiring. So I asked him for opportunity. He gave it to me. And I ran with it. And, obviously I took a huge pay cut from construction to $3,000 salary. Then eventually moved up, right? But little did I know, that's where the independent contracting started getting very popular, like self-made, where I'm at now.
Yeah.
Working for yourself. Because I've worked corporate all my life. That's all I knew.
Yeah.
So for me to go independent was like, man, like, it's going to be tough. It's the best thing I could have done.
Yeah.
And then now, obviously, I have visions that God's put in my head that I'm going to open up my own gyms under Active Lifestyle Fitness 365. But that's another 3 to 5 year plan until God's plans. Because everybody's like, why don't you make that now? I'm like, I could, but that's not my plans. Those are God's plans.
Yeah.
He knows when I'm ready to do what he wants me to do. And so, anyways, from 2017 to 2020, I was always there for my daughter. I was always there, but I wasn't present. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And what I mean by that, I mean, like, I would always be there, but I was always on my phone, promoting myself, putting myself out there, just networking.
Yeah, you were building.
I was building myself, right?
Building, yeah.
But little in the midst of all, I didn't realize how much it was affecting my daughter.
Yeah.
And the fact that her mom and I had separated, it was affecting her to a point where it was just like she felt lonely. She actually expressed herself to me.
Yeah.
And so in 2020, through the pandemic, we all went through what we went through. It was hard times.
Big time.
And that's when I started independent contracting. I was making better money than I was salary, or even better in construction. And, my daughter had expressed herself to me. She's like, Daddy, I'm sad. I'm depressed. Mm. And then she had mentioned to me that she was having suicidal thoughts.
Oh, man.
And that's after I turned pro. So in 2020, in September, on my birthday, I had turned pro, God granted my wish, but then he said, you need to be a better father. You need to be present, and you need to love her. You need to, shower her with love and, just be there for her.
Yeah. And that's the sacrifice, man, that a lot of people don't understand or don't see, man. Correct. Is that, because you basically, whether you realize, even though you were in a corporate setting doing the training and everything, but your life as a bodybuilder, you were on this entrepreneur journey already without you maybe not calling yourself an entrepreneur, but you were on this entrepreneur journey. And that's what I feel a lot of people that want to get into the entrepreneur industry, that have, a dream to start a business or to build their influence, they don't see the level. They see the success side, but they don't see the sacrifice that it takes, man. Like you said, you had to finance your own trips. You had to finance your own training. Mm-hmm. You had these sponsors, and they were a great help. They were a great blessing. But at the same time, you even the time, the presence that you were neglecting to your daughter, all that, man, like, that's the life of an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
When you're trying to build something, man, a lot of times you neglect some of the most important things.
Absolutely. And then this is what I tell people too. kids don't turn out to be bad because they're just bad. They turn out to be bad because the parents are not present.
Yeah.
Or they're not loving them. And so I had to learn that. After she told me that, I'm like, man, that hit home so hard.
Yeah.
Like, I started crying like a baby. I'm like, I'm sorry, baby. I didn't realize how you were feeling. She's like, well, yeah, Daddy. She goes, I'm at home every day. You get to at least go to work. And I'm like, man. I'm like, what makes you feel that way? She's like, I don't know. I just feel like I'm by myself. I'm just depressed. So it hit me so hard that I was like, okay, I need to be a better father. Even though now God has granted my wish to become a pro, now I need to step it up to be a better father. And so, nowadays when I hang out with her, I might post her in our story, but I just put my phone down, I put it on silent, I give her 100% attention, and she loves that. She loves that more than ever. And, for parents out there, man, put your phone down.
That's a hard, you know what, that's a hard thing, and I always say that to people, like, because a lot of people, I always say that to myself and I say that to people, that's one of the hardest things to do, man, is sometimes we're so consumed, with technology, and it's a great thing, man. It's a great avenue. It really is, man. There's so much that we can do with it, and it's so helpful in so many ways. But you're 100% right, man. Sometimes we lose focus because we're trying to, like in your case, man, you weren't doing anything wrong. It's not that you were watching YouTube videos laughing, or trying to scroll through Instagram and just check things out. You were trying to build something, and I'm sure she was in your mind. You were, man, we're building this. I'm building this for me. I'm building this for my daughter. I'm building this for us. But children sometimes don't understand that.
They don't, and that's what I had to explain to her, and I just said, baby girl, this is just, unfortunately, this is what I have to do. This is my job. So just don't take it that I'm not there for you. This is nowadays how I promote myself through my work, so I get clients. This is how my clients see my journey.
Right.
So I'd explain to her, but honestly, I think what changed our relationship most importantly, was the fact that I was just every weekend, like I pick her up.
Yeah.
Whether it's lunch, now I'll go to church. We have such a relationship that actually she got to know God this year. She got baptized.
That's cool.
Man, 2020 had done a lot of things to a lot of young kids that, we can't fathom from it because we didn't go through this pandemic, right?
No.
And businesses too, not just the kids, but the kids, the businesses. A lot of people got affected so bad, the health, and it's one of those things that like, it made people either step it up or step down or something to make it. Unfortunately.
Yeah.
And for me, it was like, okay, like you said, I didn't really describe myself as an entrepreneur. I was kind of like just a hard worker, right?
Yeah.
But then that's where I met like people like my financial advisor now. That just real quick about one of my businesses. I own a beef jerky business called Swole Beef Jerky, named after me, right? So how I got the nickname Johnny Swole, to make a quick story short, in high school, me and one of my good friends went to rival schools, and we're both captains, John Marshall versus Belmont. And so we take our helmets out. The referee does a coin toss. He's like, Johnny, what's up, Anthony? Damn, boy, you got swole. So Johnny Swole stuck from like high school days. And I just ran with it. I just started calling myself Johnny Swole because I was like, I'm going to be this jack dude.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And so, man, it's just one of those things that I had a client of mine. He's multimillionaire. I have a couple of those. And not to brag about money or anything like that, but they have great ideas.
Yeah.
I was brought up to just get a job and retire from my pops, right? And I love him for that. But I didn't realize that I could own a business eventually. I could be the jefe. I could be the boss.
Yeah.
And so my financial advisor, one time I was training him. He's like, hey, Johnny. I'm like, what's up? Got an idea. I'm like, okay. Swole beef jerky. I'm like, yeah, right. What do you mean? So he's like, yeah, man, I think I got the great business partner for you that can help you start a jerky business. I was like, oh, all right. I sat in it for a month, dude.
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
like, nah, I ain't gonna sell no beef jerky. Who do I look like sell beef jerky? And I was like, Swole beef jerky. Went to the stores, just kind of looked at all the beef jerkies. How can I differentiate myself from other companies?
Yeah.
Well, let me be the macro-friendly guy. Let me be the healthier alternative version guy.
Yeah.
So I talked to my cook. I'm like, hey, man, how can we make this a little less salt, less sugar?
Yeah.
Oh, you have to preserve it for less time. Do it. Because that's what I want to do.
Yeah.
So my beef jerky is just for 1 year. Other companies is 2 to 5 years.
Yeah.
So they have to preserve it with more salt.
More salt, yeah.
And so, it's like, let me keep my customers at a calorie restriction.
Yeah.
And protein source.
High protein.
Yeah. So then I was like, cool, let's run it. Started off with 4 flavors, and then boom, had 10. Carne asada, original pepper, teriyaki, honey pepper, mango habanero, sweet and spicy.
That's my favorite, the mango habanero.
The mango, oh man, that thing is spicy, bro. I love it, but it's just like,
it's
my
so
head
good,
and nose
man.
itch. You wouldn't think that I'm Latino, you know? But yeah, man, so it's just, I roll with the idea. Business has been good. And like I said, I'm not so much for it to grow so fast because I have so many other things, avenues that I want to touch up on. I still want to go to Olympia. I'm starting real estate soon next year.
Yeah.
I got a team of realtors that are helping me. I'm actually an actor too by trade.
Yeah, man. I want to.
People are like, what? You do it all. I'm like, man, I like to do a lot of things. Like,
Yeah.
you know, especially with money, like revenue.
Yeah.
Like, I don't like to just focus on one income. I just like to have other sources of income.
Yeah.
You know.
And that's what, and that's so cool, man. And I want to talk a little bit about that right now, about the acting. But that's what's so cool when you get around people that think different than us.
Sure.
You know, the networking, and I that's something that I can't emphasize. You know, I can't emphasize enough. You know that sometimes we need to get out of our circle. We
Correct.
need to get out of
Comfort zone, too.
our comfort zone. We need to get out of even our own belief system, because, like you said, you know, a lot of Latinos, man, we have this mindset of just work the job, work it. If you don't like it, who cares?
Right.
Just work it. And there's nothing wrong. I want our audience to understand that. It's not that I think it's wrong. It's an honorable thing to be in the job. If you're going to retire from there, that's awesome.
Yeah.
But if you have a dream, you know, it's so important to get around other people with broader mindsets, man.
Correct.
Like you said, you know, you have these clients, man, that have done well for themselves, that you were able to get around and inspire you to say, hey, you know what? You know, everything you've been working at, everything you've been building, you know you can do more.
Correct. And, you know, honestly, like you were saying earlier, that's a great point you brought up, to not knock on anybody that are employed.
Yeah.
You know, it's a beautiful thing to be employed because someone has given you that opportunity to make money for your family. But I think I've gotten a greater gratification of myself being my own boss to eventually give somebody else the opportunity, or upcoming people that want to start a business or whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
It's always good to share that knowledge of business to other people because, you know, I feel like the business entrepreneurship has just flourished in the last 10 years with everybody. Now that everybody's branding themselves, which is a beautiful thing. I love to see it.
And with 2020, I think 2020 probably jumped.
Correct.
Crazy numbers.
Well, because a lot of people had a retail location. Now people are just selling from their homes. So it's like nowadays you almost have to get creative of how to make money besides clocking in from 9 to 5, right? And, you know, like I tell my daughter too, to this day, I'm like, baby girl, I said, I'd want you to work for somebody, but eventually I'd want you to start your own business.
Yeah.
I want, like, let me help you. I can help you with that.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, my dad didn't do that for me, but that's okay. But my dad taught me work ethics to work my butt off.
Yeah.
But since I know how to start a business and how to help you start a business, you can come to me for that.
Yeah.
So I mentor my daughter a lot.
That's cool.
A lot. Like every day, Daddy, what does this mean? Daddy, what does that mean?
Yeah.
Why would you say this? Or how do you say that? How do you pronounce this?
Yeah.
Dude, she is like, there's times where I'm just like, shut up. But I can't because she's curious. She wants to know.
They're absorbing the knowledge right now.
Yeah. So it's
I'm the same way with my kids. You know, we'll be in the car sometimes and we'll have these random conversations like, you know, you know what, I want to, you know, I want to do this, and then, you know, once I start working and I start making all this money, you know, they'll talk about, and I'll be like, oh yeah, I was like, but hey, what are you gonna do with that money? What are you gonna do like once you start? And I'll be like, oh, you know, well, I'll buy this, I'll buy that. I was like, okay. I was like, but you know what? I was like, look, what you should do is, you know, and I'll give them little tips, you know, save that money, or how does this sound? I won't tell them do this. I'll tell them, how does this sound? What if you can buy this house or buy that house, and then now you have equity in that house, and then one day you refinance, and what if you can leave your job? What would you rather do? Would you keep doing that, or would you rather keep making all this other money? You know, just kind of feed them with that stuff, and they'll be like, huh, yeah, I think I'd rather do that.
you know, it's crazy you say that too, because when I was sharing that with my daughter, I was telling her about how entrepreneurship works, or starting your own business, or for working for somebody.
Yeah.
You know, after that conversation, like a week, 2 later after I picked her up, she's like, Daddy, I know what I want to do now. I'm like, what? She's like, well, I want to be a doctor. I want to be a baker. I want to be an artist. And yeah, she goes, I'll start doing that. I was like, baby, you can do whatever you want.
Yeah.
She's like, yeah, I think I figured I could be a doctor from like 7 to 3. And then I can be a baker from like 4 to 6. And then an artist before, from 7 to 9 before I go to bed. I'm like, yeah, if you can fit it in, do it. you can do them all, but you're obviously going to have to pick one that you want to focus on and make it your own main source of income, But, even like you said, like just giving them that little ultimatum tip, they roll with it. They're like, their imagination starts running wild.
Yeah.
And so they can come to you for anything. That's just how I felt like over time she's, told me. She's like, Daddy, like, oh man, she wrote me this letter 2 weeks ago that made me cry.
Oh man.
And the letter was just full of gratification. Her teacher told her to write a letter about gratitude, about anything or anybody. She's like, Daddy, I wrote you a letter. I said, okay. So she sent it to me through text picture message. And then she gave it to me in person. And when I read it through the text picture message, I started crying. Because she was like, I was going to write about Mommy, but I rather wrote about you because you're always there for me. And I'm like, damn.
Yeah.
She said, I love Mom, don't get me wrong. But she's like, I just feel like you're always, like, you always listen to me. You always. So the whole letter, she was just saying how grateful she was that I've been there for her, that I introduced her to God, that I've loved her, then she wouldn't know what she'd do without me. Like just a bunch of things where I'm like, man, she's only 12. She's expressing herself this way.
That's
like,
awesome.
That's beautiful.
That is so beautiful.
Shared it with a couple of my clients. They even like almost bawled.
Yeah.
I'll show it to you afterwards.
Yeah, those are beautiful things, man, that I think that no level of success, man, can never replace those moments.
And, it's funny. I was just telling a client this week, I'm like, when I got my pro card and when she told me about this letter, there was 2 cents of gratifications and love, appreciation.
Yeah.
1, that I wanted so bad, like to become professional. 2, I wanted to be a better father.
Yeah.
So experiencing the 2 were great, but experiencing this one was greater.
Yeah.
And it was not so much because I realized that I'm doing something right as a father.
Yeah.
And the other one was more a satisfaction for what I wanted to accomplish.
Right.
But there's no greater feeling or gratification feeling of your own specimen, your own child.
Yeah.
Whatever they've gone through or you've gone through together, that they felt like they were able to get out of that and become better or have hope for the future. I think that's the most important thing that, like you said, you can accomplish and have all this success and money, but if your children or your family is like, suffering, it's one of those things that's like, it's almost not worth going through that because they suffer more and you lose one or the other. So, through the success of whatever you do in your family, your loved ones, your children, most importantly, being there for them and truly, genuinely loving them can set the standard for their future.
Yeah, 100%.
And for others.
Yeah. And how did you get into acting?
Oh, man. So,
how did that happen,
I told you, man, we're going to need more than an hour.
Oh, yeah. No, yeah, we're good.
I don't know if we'll be able to break this down in an hour, in 10 minutes or little reels. But, yeah, so acting, I started acting in high school and college.
Okay, all right.
So I got into theater acting. Again, going back to Arnold and, John Wayne. So these guys inspired me to be like, man, I want to be an actor too.
Yeah.
So I started doing theater acting, actually with my ex-girlfriend, the one that left me. We did a college play.
Okay, yeah.
And I think that's harder. Theater acting is a lot harder than, cut.
I agree, man. I agree.
Because you got to remember the lines. You got to, the expressions, the story.
You don't have the sound effects. You don't have all that stuff.
No, there's no cut. It's just go. If you forgot, just think of like the play.
Yeah. Improvise.
Oh man. So it was like it was our final grade. My ex-girlfriend and I did our play together. And it was like 15 pages of memorization. Ooh. Paragraph to paragraph to paragraph to paragraph. But I studied that thing so much because, obviously she's my girlfriend. So we're just practicing. So yeah, man, I got into the acting because it started there in high school and college. And then just not till like 2019, I met a director. One of my friend's clients, she knew this director in LA. His name is Andre. And so Andre does like small films, right?
Okay.
He's upcoming. There's no, what's his name? Warner Brothers.
Steven Spielberg.
Steven Spielberg. But that's what I tell people. I'm just putting my foot in the door because eventually, Hollywood will discover my talents. So, anyways, Andre had a movie premiere. The movie is called Limo Driver. So I went to the movie premiere, introduced myself to him. It's like, hey man, if you need some muscles and a bodybuilder that can act, I'll be your guy. He's like, all right, man, say no more. So he became my client. He came out to Anytime Fitness, trained with me a couple of times, and he's like, hey man, I got a role for you. I was like, really? He's like, yeah. He's like, oh, I want to use you as a bodyguard.
Let's go.
I was like, all right, cool. So yeah, he brought me on set. My name was Otto, or Otto, whatever. I don't know. So I was his bodyguard. I was his right-hand man, so I did all the dirty work. It's like a Russian movie, rated R movie, but it's cool, man. It just released in June or April of this year.
June of 2022.
2022.
Okay.
Yeah, you know what's crazy? We started in 2019, but we didn't finish until 2022. It was projected to be finished in the summer of 2021.
Because the whole pandemic.
Yeah. So it took a whole year off.
Slowed everything.
But see, people don't realize that making movies doesn't happen like that.
Quick,
it's a process.
Yeah.
So even the fact that the movie's done, I have a copy of it. It's supposed to come out in the movie apps, but it has to go through film festivals first.
Gotcha.
And they have to approve them. They have to the apps have to say, okay, we want this movie. And how it works in the apps is like once your movie goes into the movie apps, your movie survives by the views and ratings. So the more views you got, the more it's going to stay there. But if your movie doesn't have that much views, guess what? They knock it out. So we finished that movie, Business of Betrayal. That's the name of the movie.
Okay.
And I guess I did pretty good. That another director saw my work and was like, hey, man, I have this movie called Desert Queen. This is another director named Jim J. Stomp. This is who I'm working with now for future projects.
Okay.
We're going to start filming in April. And this Desert Queen it's a Dracula movie of vampires.
Okay.
So my name is Marcus in the movie, the chosen one. And I'm basically the human non-vampire. And so I basically pretty much fight, which is the devil, or the main character, which is him. I fight him, and then my mom owns a restaurant, and it's really cool. So we finished the movie, and he said he'll be done with it by next year, sometime early spring, summer. So we released that movie, and then he wants to start off another one called The Garage, and he wants to put me in a movie series. And then he goes, let's talk about 2023. I want you to have your own movie as a superhero. And I'm like, damn, like, God, really? Like,
that's tight.
But what about bodybuilding? I'm thinking in my head, right?
Yeah.
And then God is throwing real estate in my avenues too. So I'm like, God, this is too many things that I can't handle. But your word says that there's so many things that he's going to put you through that he wouldn't put you through in situations you can't handle. So I'm a big believer in that, even though it's like one of those things like, just this Sunday, the message was about, the pastor was saying how, before he got that bigger building, he was working car sales, and he didn't want to go big, like into ministry, because he was so good at selling cars.
Yeah.
But it's like God told him, was like, hey, I got something better for you.
Yeah.
And so sometimes God may allow you to take a break on something.
Right.
To focus on other things.
Yeah.
And then allow you to come back. Right. And that's where I feel like where I'm at right now. Because I have so many things that I'm working on that I'm like with my head crossed. Because I'm like, I want to get them all done.
Yeah.
They're not going to happen all simultaneously right away.
Right.
So I still can't not forget to be a father, number one. That's priority. So number 2, I'm a coach. Number 3, I'm a business owner for beef jerky. Number 4, I'm an actor. Number 5, soon to be a real estate agent. And so it's one of those things that it's just like, you just have to almost like give a little bit of yourself to everything. And like I tell my clients and I tell my loved one, time management is big. If you don't manage your time for today, tomorrow, or the next week, or the week after that, next month, next year, then your time managing is going to be completely off.
Yeah.
Or your discipline or your commitment to whatever is it that you're trying to do. Because if you don't time manage your day by the hour, guess what? Your schedule, your day is going to just go however you think it's going to go. Or you may not plan things and then things don't go according to how you want them to, right?
Right.
So the biggest one where, clients will give me the big excuse, I don't have time. BS.
Yeah.
You have time.
Yeah.
We both have 24 hours, 7 days a week.
Yeah.
Make the time.
How we choose. And that's so true. I heard this one time and that always stuck with me, because my wife and I, man, like our calendar is like our best friend.
Sure.
We are super attached to our calendar. We've we've made labels where, you know what I mean, we label, this is for family, this is for podcasts, this is for church. You know, we've made calendars because one time I heard this, it says like, you know, if we don't tell time where it should go, you know, same like money and time. Like if we don't say like, hey, this hour should be designated to this, you know, this time should be designated for this, these finances should be designated for this,
Correct.
Then if we don't do that, and it's not that we're trying to control everything, because there are things that are going to be out of our control.
Yeah.
But if we don't take discipline in that, then eventually we're going to be slaves to that.
Correct.
You know, we're going to be, you know, dragged back and forth, you know, like, oh, and that's what that happens. I don't have time, or I don't have this. No. Is that we're not managing those things correctly.
You got to really dissect your day and manage your time based off what you want to do, what you want to accomplish, you know, how much time you want to spend with your kids, how much time you want to spend at work, at the gym. You just have to literally put every stamp hour of the day of what you're going to do.
Yeah.
If you don't do that, your schedule's going to get disorganized. You're not going to do this. You're going to procrastinate. Discipline. That's one of the biggest thing I tell people that you need to work on every day. And my biggest thing, because a lot of people are like, how do you stay motivated? I'm like, I don't rely on motivation. Motivation comes and goes.
Yeah.
It's great to see somebody doing great, but then after that, then what? Reality strikes. So I tell people, I rely on discipline. Discipline is doing the things you need to do that you don't feel like doing them, but you do them anyways. Do you think I want to get up every day at 6 a.m, eat my first meal? No, most of the time I don't. But I do it just because I know how it makes me feel. Do you think I want to do cardio every day for half an hour whenever I'm prepped? No, I don't. But I know the benefits from it. So the thing is, I rely on discipline more than anything. And that's what I tell my clients. I'm like, look, discipline doesn't happen overnight. It happens over time.
Yeah.
So if you discipline yourself to do something at a certain time, guess what? Eventually it's going to become part of you, right? So not everybody's programmed to do something just because.
Yeah.
You have to program them in your mind and your heart that if you want something, you have to do it at a certain time.
Yeah.
And if you don't do it, it's going to fall back of why you're not accomplishing the goal.
Right.
So if I were to tell you, George, from here on, I want you to do half an hour every day at 6 a.m, you're going to be like, why? Didn't you just tell me you want to get in shape? Yeah. Okay. So do it.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things that's just like affirmation, direction.
Yeah.
Right. So when you do it for 2 to 6 weeks, 12 weeks straight, and you start seeing the results that you aspire to want, you're going to be like, damn, this is what it took. Sacrifice.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of people tell me like, well, I can't go to the gym like you every day because I don't work at a gym. It's like, what are you trying to say?
Yeah.
I was like, sometimes actually it's worse to be at a gym all day, training all these people, hearing everybody's emotions and, you know, I'm fat or, you know, my wife says this. So people don't realize, man, as a coach, I take everybody's negative emotions.
You take on all that.
Oh, man. Like,
yeah. It's like a customer service job, man. It's like when you're, you know, people that work in that industry, man, they don't realize the toll that it can take on someone, you know, and the last thing that you want to do, even, you know, and I like what you're saying, man, because I think that's spot on, man, because discipline isn't really so much about a feeling. You know, motivation, like you said, it comes and it goes. You know, one morning we're motivated, the next morning we're like, oh man, I want to just chill. I want to stay in bed. But what you said is so true, discipline. And I think that a lot of people, especially in today's culture, man, is, you know, we want to escape that. We want to escape the accountability. Correct. We want to escape responsibility. Yeah. We don't want to take responsibility. You know, correct. We want, if something's not working for us in our life, there has to be someone to blame.
Correct.
You know, and we want to point the finger.
Or
an excuse to make. There's got to be like, well, if I'm like this, it's got to be because of this. It's got to be. If I can't do this, it's got to be.
Right.
But you hit the head on the nail, man, where you say, no, there's a lot of feelings. There's a lot of things that we can bring into this situation. But when it really comes down to is, are we willing to take responsibility and are we willing to be disciplined?
Correct. And, you know, that's part of my job where when people hire me as a trainer, I'm like, hey, listen, I'm going to mentor you. I'm going to be like a broken record. I'm going to constantly ask you, you know, what you're doing.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's part of my job to remind you because that's why you hired me, right? Yeah. To keep you accountable, to, you know, check progress of your pictures of how you're looking and so forth, you know. But yeah, it's amazing, man, how society nowadays have completely devanished discipline and structure. And, you know, because I do it and I know the success has brought me, I'm like, yo, it's just as easy as doing what you need to do when you don't feel like doing it.
Yeah.
You know, because not everybody wants to go to the gym. I
Yeah.
get it. Not everybody's embattled to, you know, want to be a bodybuilder. Not everybody's embattled to be an actor or
Yeah.
a business owner or whatever, right? So I just tell people, hey, you know what? Comfortability will not get you to where you want to go.
Yeah.
You need to get comfortable being uncomfortable. Because if you don't, you're always going to be comfortable doing the same thing over and over and over and over and years after years after years. And I've met guys nowadays that they still living with their mom and they're like 40, 50 years old. They have like no money saved up. And it's like, man, you needed a lot of structure in your life because unfortunately, maybe they didn't have anybody to teach them.
Yeah.
Right. And you can't blame them for it, but maybe just encourage them to do something,
Yeah.
you know, in a professional way. But yeah, man, it's interesting, you know, the whole acting and bodybuilding and being a father and coach, business owner has flourished through all these years. And I believe that it's been God, man. God has been doing that for me and others. I mean, my buddy Ruben had an amazing story beating cancer, Anthony growing up, you know. I think everybody has a story to be told. They just got to say it.
We got to encourage it more. I think we
encourage it, you know.
We got to encourage it more because I think that's what we've become. 2020, I'll be honest, 2020, what it did for a lot of people, man, is that it created a lot of friction and combativeness.
Yeah.
You know, where people feel like they can't just sit down and have a conversation, man. And just
you got that right.
And just express and say, hey, you know what, like, this is how your life is turning out, you know, and or this is, you know, how your life has turned out.
Yeah.
I get it. You know what I mean? But how about some guidance now?
Yeah.
How about sharing some of my experience? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that we've lost a lot of that. We've lost so much of that because now it's like we just want to know who's right.
Right.
We just want to know who's right, who's wrong. We want to know who we can blame. Mm-hmm. And it's like, no, it's not about who we can blame. It's about us being able to express ourselves.
Yeah.
You know, even if we have different opinions,
Sure.
even if we have different beliefs, but being able to come together and come to the table, to sit down, to have a conversation, and to really, man, say, hey, you know what? That's some good stuff that you brought out. I never knew, because we never know what we can learn from each other. Mm-hmm. You know, we never know what people truly go through. You know, like your story, man, is, you know, like you said, some people can probably look at you and say, whoa, they can be intimidated.
Sure.
But man, you know, once they hear this story, once they hear where you're coming from, once they understand the pain, the hurt, the sacrifice, everything that you had to go through, man, as a human, as a man, man, and that people learn to appreciate Johnny.
Yeah.
People learn to appreciate, and vice versa. I think you said it earlier. Man, I've come to appreciate who people are.
Right.
I've come to understand who people are by not just because I'm there training them, they're hiring me to train them, but because you sit there and you hear their stories.
Yeah.
You listen to what they have to say, and that just creates empathy.
Sure.
And we need more empathy, man.
Yeah. I agree, man, because like I said, going back to, you know, structure and discipline, a lot of people just weren't brought up that way.
Yeah.
And like I was saying earlier, sometimes kids are not bad just because they're bad. They're just bad because they don't know better.
Yeah.
But they didn't have a mother or father to be there for them.
Right.
So in most cases, 99.9% of the time is the parents' responsibility to be parents.
Yeah.
To be there for them, to be involved, to be emotionally there for them, to hear them out, and to genuinely give them time, you know, day in, day out. Because, you know, what I've learned as a father, because it's crazy, because, you know, when her mom was pregnant with her, I was praying for a boy. I was like, God, give me a boy.
Yeah.
I didn't want to deal with no girl getting pregnant or all these emotions.
Yeah.
Oh, man, God gave me what I needed, not what I wanted. So no, I'm just thankful to God that she, you know, she's my daughter and she's super athletic now. She actually lost 25 pounds on her own.
Wow.
And the only thing I told her to do is cut out junk food and fast food. And that's what she did.
Wow.
To this day, I have a hard time getting her to even eat a slice of pizza because she's just like, I don't crave it.
Wow.
So, and a lot of it started because, you know, at one point, you know, her mom and I would feed her like healthy food because we knew better.
Yeah.
But her mom, most importantly, would feed her like frozen foods like chicken nuggets. And we're all guilty for it, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But we got to really establish the foundation of the basics. Vegetables, fruits, water, you know, juice in moderation, sodas in moderation, ice creams in moderation. So I think at a young age, I told her, I'm like, baby girl, you have more discipline than daddy's ever had all his life.
Yeah.
Daddy just started getting this discipline like 10 years ago.
Yeah.
I was terrible. In the morning, I would eat hot Cheetos and drink Coke at like 10 years old. She's over here eating like 3 eggs, egg whites, and like half a cup of oatmeal. That's what I've told her to eat. That's the breakfast of champions. And so now it's like, I told her, I was like, you have so much more going on for yourself than I've ever had.
Yeah.
And it's a beautiful thing to see that you have God in your life. You know how to eat healthy. You're active. Like, you have me as your father to guide you. Like, you have a lot of resource.
Yeah.
That's what I told her. I said, I'm here for you for anything you need. Like, I got your back 100%. You can count on me. And I said, in the future, when you start dating or meeting a boy or man, he needs to be just like daddy or better.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, set the standards. Like,
Yeah.
it's one of those things that I think nowadays, I think girls grow up not having that father figure or whatever father figure they had, and they look for it elsewhere. And it's one of those things that now my daughter knows better that, you know, I tell her everything, man. Everything. We talk about everything. Drugs, sex. Like, I tell her how it is. I don't sugarcoat it because she needs to know how the world really is.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of parents need to be a little bit more open with them.
Yeah.
Because kids get curious.
That's true, man.
They really get curious, and you know, they don't know better sometimes.
Yeah.
So they usually fall into temptation, and then they learn from the trials and, you know, the effects of repercussions of like trying drugs or drinking or bad influence.
And it's better us.
Yeah.
It's better us than someone else teaching them. You know, someone that might not have their best interests.
Correct. Absolutely, man. And, you know, what's crazy is like to think like in 2020, you know, landing 2 men's fitness magazines, turning professional, getting movie scripts. Like, I never thought that would happen on a year like that, where everybody was hurting, everybody was going through, you know, health issues. I was like thriving because I was like, people were like, aren't you scared to go out, you know? And I was like, nah, man, I live by faith, not by sight.
Yeah.
This virus ain't gonna do nothing to me. Even though I got it twice, but the first time it kicked my butt. But the second one, I fought it with some Z-Pack and a Trimaflu. But, you know, it got crazy, man. A lot of people after COVID just changed.
Yeah.
Even family. Family was just not as, you know, united anymore.
Yeah.
My family, like, we used to unite for everything. And now it's like just me, my mom, my dad, my sister, my brother, my daughter, and that's it.
Yeah.
Back then it was my tias, my tios, my cousins. You know, this pandemic has really separated a lot of people and businesses, and unfortunately has, you know, changed lives for the better or for the worse.
Yeah.
Some people lost loved ones, you know. And so my thing was, after 2020, I'm like, man, I'm just gonna, you know, really go forth what I want to accomplish in life and who I want to help and who wants to be part of, you know, my circle. But my circle's pretty small, man. I don't have, like, because I can tell. I have a, you know, the discernment gift to who's for me and who's against me.
Yeah.
And 99% of the time, I'm right, you know, and that's why I affiliate with people from afar.
Yeah.
Because, like I tell people, and I tell my clients and my daughter, I said, sometimes you'll have people that will be negative towards you, and that's okay. Let them be negative. Let them be salty, because you're better than that. You know, if people are going to be a certain way with you, there's a reason why they're that way with you. It's maybe because you look a certain way, you have something that, you know, they want that you have that they don't have, or they just never had love.
Yeah.
Right? Or they've never been show loved. And that's okay. You know, you let those people, you know, do what they need to do, prosecute you, whatever.
Yeah.
And you just move on with your life.
Yeah.
Or sometimes when I tell people about, you know, haters and social media talking smack, I'm like, I don't really reply to the messages because they're beneath me. I'm above them. I'm like, I'm at a level where I'm like, the negative comments don't affect me anymore.
Yeah.
Because I've been called everything in the book and I could care less.
Yeah.
I'm going to share another thing that changed my life forever. The minute I stopped caring about what people thought or said about me, my life changed for the better. And why is that? Because I've realized that nobody's opinion matters. Nobody's. Only God's. So at the end of the day, anybody can say whatever they want about me, whether they've heard bad or good. And most of the time will be good. Because I'll tell you this much. At 34, I've never burned a bridge, and I've never, ever done anybody dirty. I could go to home to sleep in peace.
Yeah.
To know that I've never betrayed anybody. I've never done anything wrong to hurt somebody.
Yeah.
And that I've always made it to become a peaceful ending, if that's the case. Relationship, friendship, whatever. My thing is, I have a heart that I don't like to make other people's hearts hurt, because I know the pain that it takes. And so I have such a good heart that I want to see everybody do good.
Yeah.
Right? And so my thing is, how can I make somebody feel good about themselves by talking to me? And that's sharing my story and encouraging them and giving them hope, right?
Yeah.
Nowadays, you'll have guys come up to you, try to size you up. Well, me all the time, because like, hey, man, how much you bench press? Or back in my days, I'm like, bro, like, what does it matter? Like, what is it that you want from me? What did you want to talk about, right? Because a lot of people want to first brag about what they've done, where they're at, which is cool, right? Talk about you. I'll get to know you. You'll get to know me. But, in our reality, it's not all about me. It's not all about you. It's about everybody.
Yeah.
Everybody needs to, learn from each other to become better for themselves.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people, just don't know how to express themselves nowadays.
Yeah.
Don't know how to hold a conversation, or can't appreciate what someone's done for them.
Yeah.
So those little things, man, like, I think what I tell people, or I tell my daughter too, I'm like, life experiences are the best.
Yeah.
Because
they're the best teachers.
Yeah, they're the best teachers in life, man, because without the bad experiences or the good experiences, you wouldn't be where you're at now. So even nowadays, they're like, oh man, after, your marriage, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, no, you know what? I'm thankful for my marriage.
Yeah.
I'm thankful for everything. People that have left me or didn't believe in me, that just thought I was crazy or wanted to go elsewhere. I'm like, I'm thankful for them.
Yeah.
And I'm not bitter. I don't hold a grudge. I'll forgive them again if they want to come back in life and still be friends, but we won't be that, boys or, buddy since you've done me dirty once.
Yeah.
So, you know what I mean? It's one of those things that when I know people are after me for, to learn or, see how they can hurt me, I just segregate myself with them. I just kind of do my own thing. I'd rather, do my own thing and just know that I'm focused on what I want to do.
I love that, man.
And some people, they'll see that, they'll try to distract you. They'll try to manipulate you that you're doing something wrong.
Yeah.
And it's just like, nah, man, I'm established in my mind and heart what I want to do.
Yeah.
I encourage you to do the same thing. You know what I mean?
That's awesome. I love that, man. I love that way of thinking, man. And man, dude, I love this conversation, man.
Thank you, man.
I love it, man. And there's so much gold that was shared here today. And
thank you.
And thank you so much, man, for sharing your story, Johnny. I know there's a lot more. I know there's a lot more to it, man.
We'll do episode 1 right now.
Yeah, this is for real, man. I always tell people
next time I come back, I'll be in Olympia. I'll be a real estate agent.
Yeah, no, and for real, I always tell people, man, like we got to do a part 2 because I'm so fascinated by everything that you're going through, and I love how you are so open to God's leading and to the opportunities that are for you. You're not stuck in just saying, man, you know what? No. This is what I have to do. This is what I have to finish. This is what I have to accomplish. But you're so open. You're open to, and that's what I want to encourage our listeners is that, man, don't ever feel that you have to stay stuck in one thing.
Correct.
Look for those opportunities that sometimes are in front of us, even if they look like work,
right.
Even if it looks like hard work, So Johnny, man, thank you so much, man. Thank you so much for sharing your story. I know a lot of people are going to, they're gonna grow from this. I know that they're gonna learn from this. They're gonna learn who you are, and you gave some great advice, but just to close, man, if you can look at right here at this camera right here and just give them last words of advice, man, for this episode.
Well, I mean, all my success, all my love, all I've been through and what I've got out through has been because of God. And I highly encourage you to seek God and put God first.
That's right.
And I'm not saying it just for you to start going to church and be religious. I'm just saying it just so you know where life, the life way of living your life will be through having God in your life, because He is the reason why I am who I am, where I'm at, where I'm going. And have faith, have hope, and just give everything you got in life. If you don't know God right now, that's great. eventually you'll get to know him if you want to get to know him. And if you don't know him right now, I would just say, hey, in life right now, just find out your passions, find out what you like, what you're about, and just give back. Give back, share others with what you've been through, and you'll see that people will appreciate that when you open up with them, But most importantly, man, just in life, be positive, be loving, give back, respect, love, do the right thing. Just everything that, life is about, integrity. If you do everything according to what's right, more than likely your life will be good.
Yeah.
But if you lie, you cheat, you steal, there's repercussions. There's consequences to that.
Yeah.
So just do right in life. Work your butt off. Believe in yourself. Don't take what people tell you into heart if it's not part of your life, your journey, your destiny, your vision, your dreams. And disregard the noise and just do you. Just get up every day with ambition and thank God every day for a new day, because that's what I do. Every day I wake up and I'm like, God, thank you for this, for another opportunity to be great, for not just for me, but for others and for my daughter. So, put God first, live your life the right way, make right decisions, and you'll see your life flourish, man. If you help others, eventually other people are going to help you.
Yeah.
And I'm so thankful and grateful to be in this podcast because, whoever listens to this hour and a half long story, I'd appreciate the heck out of you because hopefully I didn't bore half of them.
And they will. No, they will, man.
I've heard some people like, yeah, I heard Anthony's story. I heard it too. And I was like, oh, man, I didn't realize this. When I saw him, I was like, bro, that's deep,
Yeah.
And so we'll see, man. Hopefully those that tune in and listen and hear out my story and, if they have any questions in person when they see me, feel free to ask them.
And how can they find you? How can they find you on social media?
They could find me through Instagram. I have Johnny Swole 23, which is my main page. It's at JOHNNYSWOLE23. I have like 5 pages.
I'll put them all. Them all right there on the description.
Swole Beef Jerky, Swole Angels, Team Swole Physiques, Active Lifestyle Fitness 365. So it's about 5 pages I run by myself.
Nice.
It's a little monotonous sometimes, a little chaotic, like the emoji my eyes cross. So I tell people, hey, if I don't respond right away, just give me a couple of minutes. My freaking phone blows up.
Yeah, man, and so I appreciate, and I'll put all his links, his social media, right there in the description of this video. I want to thank you guys so much. Offbeat Podcast, man. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Till next time, man. Again, don't forget to subscribe. Hit the subscribe. Hit the alert button right there so that each time we drop a new episode, you'll be able to get the notification. Don't forget to share it. Share it with your friends, with your family. You know what I mean? We want to keep blowing this up. We want to keep spreading this good energy. We want to keep spreading these good vibes to people. Why? Because we want the whole emphasis of this is people are out there. People are out there and people are feeling like they're offbeat. People are feeling, man, like their life has no meaning, like their life has no purpose. Right. But we're here to let you know, man, that you know what? Even though you might not be going through the rhythm of life, man, God has a different rhythm for you. Yep. God has something special for you. So don't ever forget that. This podcast is for us, for everyone who's felt like you've been offbeat, that things have happened and it's taken you offbeat. But guess what? There's always a purpose behind everything we go through, man. So stay up, stay positive. We love you guys, man. Till next time, let's go. Offbeat Podcast.
Right on, man. I told you were gonna